Hello everyone, this is the video essay about my gamer profile. I'm going to here analyze two games and give some plays to some other games in this essay. My canonical gamer types are Bounty Hunter and Bard according to the gamer profile test. Bounty Hunters are solo, action-oriented players who love to explore the game world as much as they can. That's pretty much me. Bards on the other hand, they are team players that love to interact with other players in game worlds that rich with lore. I loved interacting players in World of Warcraft, but I am not big fan of interacting with the guy playing Jungle Master Yi who never came to help me in my lane. So it really depends from community to community. That said, a world with rich lore is a must-have for me. First game I choose to talk about is Bloodborne, an action game made by From Software that takes place in Gothic Victorian aesthetic. Second one is Persona 5, a turn-based JRPG where we live life as a Japanese student who steals bad desires. I choose these games because firstly I love these two games and secondly these games are different from each other, so I can be more versatile while analyzing my gamer profile with these games. First thing I'm going to talk about is the action components. In my playthroughs, excitement factor plays a bigger role than distraction. I lean towards fast-paced combat that gives me a good adrenaline rush. Persona 5 have a turn-based combat, and turn-based combat is very far away from fast-paced one. Combat with turns tends to be slower, but developers manage to make combat as fast as they can. The game have a faster combat than most of the other games in its genre. It is very simple and every fight don't take minutes. Almost every enemy have a weakness to an attack type. Some fights ends with just one move if player knows the weakness of that enemy. Bosses takes time to beat, but they were never boring for me. Every boss I beat gave me excitement for the new boss. They have a very flashy and interesting movesets and some of them gave me a good challenge. It was nice, but it is nothing like Bloodborne's combat. In my opinion, Bloodborne has one of the best combat systems. Combat is fluid like butter. In the From Software's most known game Dark Souls, combat was slow and players can easily blame slow animation as their cause of death. In Bloodborne, main character makes action as fast as I press the button. I felt like I am in the full control. Every hit I take mostly was by hold. My weapon was one of the fastest weapons in the game too. So my character is fast, but this doesn't mean game is easy because enemies are fast too. Bloodborne is like a Chinese that teaches you hard way. AI is not made to give player a helping hand. I actually felt like they are made to kill me, which is a feeling that I can't feel in most games. Most of the time enemies reached their goals and killed me. But this didn't cause me rage quitting the game. Okay, maybe one or two times, but after every time I died, I learned new things about the enemy that killed me. As an example, this is Lawrence. I know him more than some of my cousins because this guy killed me 40 times. And he was still hard after that because even I learned his all attacks, it was still hard to predict his attack order. Bloodborne also matched with my challenge component too because mastering was fun and painful. But after many hours and playthroughs, I can say I mastered the game mostly and I am not stressing while wandering in City of Yarnam anymore. Because me, become hunter in the end. Expect for this guy is still better than me. I'm moving on to the social components. I am not a very competitive player because I am bad at online games and games stress me when I play competitively. I prefer to play casually and I like the community aspect of the games more. It is nice to become a part of the community inside and outside of the game. Persona 5 and Bloodborne's social components are not central part of these games. In Persona 5, there is a calendar that progresses as you play the game. By linking to the server, you can see what other players did and what are their levels on the same day you are in. In my case, it was mostly, oh my god, how are all the players are 38 level while I am still 36? I didn't like this feature very much, but it actually encouraged me to gain more levels, so I think I'm okay with this in the end. And also, sometimes teachers in the game ask you questions and you can look to the other players' answers. It is very much Ask the Audience Joker from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire television program. It saved me so many times. Bloodborne has co-op and PvP, but both of them are limited. You can summon other players to your world by using one of the in-game currencies named Insight, but after killing one boss, other players summoned returns to their worlds. Getting Insight is easy, especially in New Game Plus, so summoning other players to your world isn't hard. That said, game clearly made for single player experience. Game's challenging features weren't much challenging when playing with friends. I liked the single player Bloodborne more, but I played with friends in some of my playthroughs, and we had so much fun. We smashed every enemy in our path like we owned the place. Other players can make surprises by invading your world. Some invaders that came to my world was really honorable. They came to me directly. We bowed to each other and started to fight. Some other invaders were sneaky and waited a good moment to attack from my back. PvP wasn't fun as much as co-op, but it added a nice flavor to the game. When I like a game so much, I always try to complete all content in it. In Bloodborne, I managed to do it and got the Platinum trophy. It took me 4 playthroughs, but after first and second playthrough, third and fourth run was smooth as I know the game. In Persona 5, completing everything wasn't possible for me. Games passes in a 1 year and 6 months time period, and game time passes as you do stuff. Finishing everything in this period is nearly impossible for the first playthrough, because game is filled with content. There are so many characters in the game and you need to spend time with them to improve relationships. In order to improve relationships, you need to improve social stats and you need to spend time for that too. Just like the real life, time was never enough in Persona 5. Game is long and one playthrough nearly takes 120 hours. In Bloodborne, all my 4 playthroughs combined took about 80 hours, so compared to Bloodborne, Persona 5 was a very long game. Due to that, I didn't start my second run, but I would love to do that in future if I get time, of course. The last component I want to talk is Immersion. There's a reason why Immersion was my highest component. I didn't get Platinum Trophy in Bloodborne just because I like challenging games or I like good combat or I like hard-earned victories. These are all decent factors, but I wouldn't care about them if there wasn't immersion in the game. My main reason that I liked Bloodborne so much was the rich world that From Software created. This gothic Victorian design of the city, disturbing enemies that are influenced from H.P. Lovecraft's books, mysterious lore and beautiful soundtracks. Every boss has its own soundtrack that is made by an orchestra. These are the reasons why I didn't mind dying to Lawrence 40 times. However, there was a flaw that damaged the immersion for me. Bloodborne storytelling is different from a lot of games. They tell the story mostly showing and not telling directly. I like this technique in a lot of media, but in Bloodborne it is not player friendly. There is a very good story and lore, but game doesn't give you that easily. If players want to understand story, they need to read a lot of item description, talk a lot of NPCs, and think about things like why developers put this statue here. And even then, it is still hard to understand. All my friends who played the game and me learned the story from YouTube and Wiki. In my first playthrough, there are some moments I asked myself, it's cool and all, but why I am fighting with this guy? These moments break my immersion a little bit. In the other hand, I immersed into the world of Persona 5 much more easily because storytelling was too straightforward and easy to understand. I bought it in a sale without knowing too much. In the game, main character has a double life. He is a student and a phantom thief at the same time. In student parts of the game, you talk with other characters and doing daily works. In phantom thief parts of the game, you do combat and some minor puzzles. At the early hours, phantom thieves part hooked me more because combat is new and interesting for me. But as I played the game and learned the story and characters more, tables turned. I was doing combat parts faster just to play daily activities more. Characters were definitely the strongest part of the game for me. Some of their stories were interesting and worth the effort I put. But like I said, story was very straightforward and sometimes characters tell you the same thing you already know before again and again. So Bloodborne damaged my immersion by giving nothing and Persona 5 damaged my immersion by giving too much. However, this isn't changing that these two games are still really powerful games immersion-wise. This is the reason I choose them after all. In conclusion, fantasy-wise I liked Bloodborne more, and story-wise I liked Persona 5 more. This is the end of my video essay. Thanks for listening.